So my name's Anthony Schutz. I'm a lawyer at JD. I teach at the law school. I've taught there for about, nearly 20 years now.
My name is Doug Krogost, and I am from Standing Rock, Sioux tribe, located on the border of South Dakota and North Dakota. And I am the water resource manager for that tribe, for my tribe.
Hello, everybody. I'm Marty Matlock. I'm a professor of biological and ag engineering at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'm also the executive director of the University of Arkansas Resiliency Center. I'm a member of the Cherokee Nation. I grew up in Oklahoma. I'm the chair of the Environmental Protection Commission.
Hi, everybody. So my name's Rebecca De Jesus. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, working at Louisiana State University.
Regarding myself, I'm a professor of the University of National University in Kazakhstan. Actually, I have here a few courses in environmental chemistry and in organic chemistry as well.
Hello, my name is Monica Ramirez. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Arizona with a joint appointment in public health. I am second generation Mexican American. I grew up along the US-Mexico or Arizona-Mexico border.
I'm Martha Shulsky. I serve as a state climatologist for Nebraska, and I'm an applied climate scientist in the School of Natural Resources.
Yeah, my name's Hank Miller. I've been teaching at NICC now for about 18 and 19 years. Math Science Division head. My background's in human health and environmental health.
So it's all about race and justice and that sort of stuff, right? And I'm a white guy. So part of what I'm going to talk about is, the sort of standing that people like I would have to even talk about this sort of subject and what the sort of humility that you have to bring to the arena. So I'm going to start off with that, but then I want to quickly get into the role of law in this arena. And so there's two pieces that are commonly understood when we talk about law. So the law seeks to prohibit discrimination, right? Obviously, but it also seeks to, in some instances, rectify discrimination. And those are sort of the obvious ways in which law is utilized to deal with some of the racial injustice and ethnic injustice and gender injustice and sexual identity, all of those sorts of things. I'm going to start off with, we took the land, right? We stole the land, we distributed the land to a fairly wide array of individuals, but then the USDA and other institutions that we set up did not support those populations in the same way in different places. And a lot of that is built into the institutional structures and the laws that we passed in order to do all of those sorts of things.
I think one of the main topics that I was asked to be on the seminar would be some of the impacts of oil pipeline spills in the communities of our indigenous lands. What is destroyed in the realm of when a pipeline does break? Because it destroys our culture. We know that plants and animals we still use today for our culture in order to have a culture in the Great Sioux Nation or with the Lakota people, indigenous inhabitants that still practice our way of life. When that's destroyed, our culture is destroyed, and our way of life is destroyed. So I would talk a little bit about that and some of the impacts that I've seen or that we know that is possible in pipeline spills, and what are we doing in order to protect it, and what is our preparedness, our readiness plans look like, and how have we been working with the state of North and South Dakota, and how have we been working with EPA, and how have we been working with pipelines in order to protect our water, most precious resource, and also our two-legged and our four-legged relatives is what we call them. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I'll talk about.
As chair of the Cherokee Nation Environmental Protection Commission, we have been struggling with the issue of sovereignty. What does it mean to be a sovereign nation within a nation? The Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma, even though we have a Cherokee member governor, We are now we're a year into a significant conflict internally with the state of Oklahoma over our compact agreements. The state of Oklahoma now declares that all of our tribal gambling and gaming operations are illegal because they wanted more tax revenues than we had negotiated. Because they are so poor at managing their own affairs, they wanted more money from the tribes. And so now we're in this situation where they're wanting us to give them more money, even though we provide for our 14 county region under Cherokee governance, we provide more money to roads and to public schools than the state does. They want even more. Even though we provide better health care than the state does, they want even more. And so that sort of sovereignty challenge is inherent in our ability to manage our own affairs. People who do not manage their own water are subjects to those who do. There is no independence, there is no right, there is no autonomy if you do not manage your own water. And that's going to be the theme of my discussion.
My talk is going to be, like I mentioned, about the linkages between ecosystem services and human health. Ever since the term ecosystem services began being used during the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, the term human health is always used to justify the preservation of ecosystems. But the science behind how exactly is it that ecosystem services benefit human health is still an emerging field. And so my talk is going to be first focusing on a review of what the research says are the linkages between ecosystems, ecosystem services, and human health benefits. And then I'm going to take some linkages that are not as well understood and study them in the context of the coast of Puerto Rico. And so I'm going to study the linkage. I'm going to present my study on the linkages between flood protection, ecosystem services, and gastrointestinal infections among elderly people along the coast of Puerto Rico.
And what I would like to give in this seminar, available freshwater sources, contamination types, transport of these contaminations. Our collaboration with with Nebraska University started about 10 years ago with Professor Dan Snow. So my research also focusing on a wide range of contaminants like heavy metals, pesticides, and so on. So I will give in these seminars the situation with environmental research here in our country.
I'll be discussing community science projects. One thing that really riles me up as a researcher, right, is when we have people who are trying to do the right thing, right? So you might be starting a community garden or a home garden so that you can have locally sourced foods, use native seeds. And how unfortunate would it be for pollution to interfere with that great public health intervention of growing your own foods and lowering your carbon footprint? Also, so that would be Garden Roots, a project that I'll talk a little bit about. And then with Project Harvest, this is another community science project where, again, people are trying to do the right thing, right? We live in the arid, semi-arid Southwest in Tucson, Arizona. People know that we should, are very concerned about water supply and conservation efforts. So they have started to collect harvested rainwater. And so I'll be talking about what it's like to build partnerships, collaborate and co-design with community members all the way through the sampling process, analysis, and then what does the results mean, and then really honing in also on the learning research. What are outcomes of these types of collaborations, especially with medically underserved as well as educationally, well, I have to say, especially with underserved communities in urban and rural spaces.
Yeah, our presentation is going to be more kind of highlighting the issues with the Santee Sioux Nation and Omaha Nation and this relationship that's been developed between University of Nebraska and Nebraska Indian Community College. And there's 3 campuses. They're all along the Missouri River. They're in Macy and South Sioux City and Santee. And it kind of centers around the 2019 flood. So we're looking at, what were things before and after that flood? What were the major implications from that flood? And what was information that could have been helpful, or tracking information in a more regular kind of perspective, and looking at drought events. So there's a lot of great data sets that we're tapping into. We're working with the Platte Basin time-lapse folks to kind of help visualize and really to tell the story of what's going on in this area, and what are the indigenous voices, and what are the perspectives of the community college students, and what does the future look like for this area.